Hi everyone, good evening. So we'll be starting the event shortly. Mr. Khera will be arriving in about 5 minutes. He's stuck in traffic. Before he arrives here, can I request all of you to maintain social distancing norms? I know we've forgotten that COVID exists, but we must be careful. So if you could please leave one seat between and just move a little, rearrange yourselves, please. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Please take your seats.
Hi.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to an AIPC Interactive. AIPC is All India Professionals Congress. We're doing an interactive after a really long time, and it's really exciting to have Mr. Pawan Khera with us. We have a tradition here in AIPC that we kick off all our events, all our meetings with. Right? But before we get to that, I'd like you to all please put off your phones. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. And at least put them on silent if you can. I know you're not likely to put them off, but just so that we're not disturbed, right? Okay, great, thanks. All right, so let's begin with our favorite tradition. We like to start all our events and meetings with a reading of the preamble. Right, to remind ourselves of why we're all here, what's important to us as Indians, which is our constitution. So I'd like to request our Vice President, Sumedh Gaikwad, to please come here and lead us in the reading.
Thank you so much, Sachi. May I request everyone to please stand up for the Constitution of India Preamble reading. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Jai Hind. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sachi.
Thank you so much, Sumedh. That really sets the tone for the evening, doesn't it? We've gathered here tonight to discuss one word all of us just uttered: secular. Our eminent speakers will elaborate on the subject, so I won't take too much of your time, but I do want to take a minute to read out a quote from two prime ministers that India was lucky enough to have. The first one is my favorite, Jawaharlal Nehru. He says, "We talk about a secular state in India. It is perhaps not very easy to find a good word in Hindi for secular. Some people think it means something opposed to religion. That obviously is not correct. What it means is that it is a state which honors all faiths equally and gives them equal opportunities. That as a state, it does not allow itself to be attached to one faith or religion, which then becomes the state religion." Jawaharlal Nehru spoke these words in 1961. And another prime minister, another politician actually, who eventually then became a prime minister, said something else in reply to him in 1968. These are lines from Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He says, "They who interpret secularism as dharma nirpekshata fail to understand either dharma or secularism. A secular state does not mean an anti-religious state, nor even an irreligious state. For in that sense, the people of India just become secular. A secular state simply means a state which does not identify itself with any specific mode of worship and holds the balance between all sects. Secularism thus means sampradaya nirpekshata and not dharma nirpekshata." Right? So, I'd like to invite now one of our AIPC fellows who, I know you're all very excited to start this session. We're just going to take a couple of more minutes. Our speakers are so eminent today that they need no introduction. However, we'd like to formally introduce them to you. And for that, I'd like to invite an AIPC fellow who's a representative of the young India that we're all looking forward to living in. Darsh, please, can you come to the stage? Darsh Mishra, everyone.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'd like to formally introduce our speakers for the evening. Our special guest tonight is Mr. Pawan Khera, the national spokesperson for the Indian National Congress, a keen political strategist, commentator, and a passionate advocate of the liberal politics. Mr. Khera is one of the most outspoken voices in the opposition that India is lucky enough to have. We also have with us our mentor, Advocate Mathew Antony, who is the president of AIPC Maharashtra, which is India's first political platform focused on the needs and aspirations of working professionals and entrepreneurs in the country. A Gandhian at heart, Mathew is an experienced advocate who specializes in conflict resolutions, mediations, and distressed asset resolution. I'm sure all of us are really looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks. Great. Now we're ready to begin. Before we dive in, we have with us Karan, who works for an app called Swell. I think Karan's had a chance to hand over cards to all of you. Did you all receive cards? Yes or no? Could you just nod? Great. So there's a barcode on it. If you could scan that and download the Swell app on your phone. Any questions, any comments that you have during this wonderful conversation, you can just log on to the app and we'll have them all recorded. Right? There'll also be space and time to address your questions in person right here. So please feel free to make a note of whatever you might like. I hope they're on silent. Great. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic. Mathew, please. Oh, you already have one.
Thank you. So first of all, before I begin, Pawan, I should say thanks to my predecessor, Sanjay Jha, where I used to sit, where Sumedh is occupying the place, and run around and coordinate the entire thing. And Sanjay takes the stage and does the talking. Learned a lot from him, but we have had to part ways in different ways. But nevertheless, it is important that we should remember the ways in which we have come up. That is what the nation is forgetting right now. And a lot of faces are familiar. We had social media, not social media, the social distancing. Distancing, because that is exactly what is happening in this country right now. The physical distancing is requested by the asset owners or the venue owners, and we had to limit the invitations accordingly. Now, coming to this particular topic, thanks to Shachi, who is there behind with us, then Sumedh, who has helped to coordinate the entire thing, as well as we have, fortunately, the Congress party is always blamed of having no media partnerships. Look at a social media platform which has tried to come and partner with us. So there is some wind of change. Now, the topic of secular as a value, because I use secular and not secularism because that's how the Constitution says, we are a secular state. It was interpreted to a large extent as from the time RSS was formed in 1925s. They tried to kind of say this, that we are trying to abolish the Hindu religion by using the word secular and the principles of secularism. It is very painful for an individual like us, or I belong to a minority community, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. I never had to say this in any public forums till now, or a few weeks back. Because when we grew up, we only knew the festivals. First the holidays, the school holidays, the second coming with the feast of different types of food, and then the family get-togethers, or the extended family get-togethers, the cousins of the friends, and we all coming and together and having our fun time. getting gifts from neighbors and other places. For us, that's how we grew up in our early days. And here we are now. Everything you touch, the way in which you go into a meeting right now, even for a business meeting or a client is coming, even the lawyers community, the client will look for a certain lawyer which belongs to their community. And that's where this has reached to. I was struggling with myself in the last 3 days to put my mind together while I had to put this conversation with Pawan. Because this is the first conversation we are doing after the COVID times. And I had requirements from my own team members who are having the Ramzan fasting to kind of keeping this after the Ramadan. But then his schedule as a part of the committee member of the Chintan Shibir is also finding less time for us, and then it will get further delayed. The mood of the country as well as the Congress party is really, really tough. We have never done these open conversations, and we should do these open conversations, else we will not get to where what we want for this nation. So I was struggling with my mind to put things together, trying to read, refresh a lot on the Constitution. What is the secular and where have we lost it? I was not able to put my mind together. I'm 45 right now. And till this time, I have never ever felt the kind of consciousness in my mind about being a Catholic or a minority member. Or look at the plight of the other people who are less privileged than us. We can't differentiate people as poor or anything, rich or anything like that. People are people who are less privileged than us, who doesn't even have a forum to talk like this. I kept my book aside. I started thinking, what will I discuss with Pawan? Because the other day when we were discussing the Jahangirpur issue in Delhi, Pawan actually paused. In a public platform, he was out of words. He paused. Now, being secular is not a sin. What we have told in the 42nd Amendment of the country's constitution is that we don't want to be identified as a country which has got an official religion because of its respect and faith equally to all the religions, not to abolish, not to insult, not to short give any other religion. That's why the Constitution's founding fathers decided to kind of, put secular. And that's why when Madam Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister, she decided to bring in the amendment. It is only ironical that we have the S.R. Bommai's son, who is a Karnataka Chief Minister, where the famous case of Constitution where secularism or secular value was really emphasized by the Supreme Court. And with this opening statement, I am coming to Pawan that this is what my life is at this moment with respect to where we stand with this particular value which is given to each one of us as constitutional value. How was your childhood? Can you share, and then we'll start from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. You spoke about my childhood, and one of my childhood friends is also here. We studied in the same school, which was a convent school. And in the morning assembly, I don't think we as children thought or realized, is English okay, or you want me to mix both Hindi and English? दोनों चलेंगे. तो उस वक्त ये आभास नहीं होता था कि हम एक कॉन्वेंट स्कूल में हैं जो मिशनरीज चलाते हैं. आप पूछ सकते हैं हमारे मित्र से. We were not aware of. Though we come from a city, Udaipur, that part of Rajasthan which has a very strong right-wing orientation. Yet, that awareness was not there. Gradually, of course, that awareness started because I am a political animal. So, of course, that awareness to me came much before. I must tell you, I come from a family which had to leave Pakistan. It was United India then. And I lost 14 male members of my family, including my grandfather, my father's brother, my uncle. But when they settled down in Udaipur, my grandmother used to say, you know, the riots happened because of Leagues and Sanghis, Muslim League and RSS. It's got nothing to do with Hindus and Muslims. So that wisdom is what shaped my worldview. So I was, when you grow up, you realize, you start rationalizing things, that old lady, my grandmother, had every reason to start despising a particular community. But no, she forced my father to put me in a convent school because she was so worried, let him not go astray, let him not. And then, if early morning I stepped out of the house on a holiday, she would say, Shakha mein to nahi ja rahe ho. That fear of Sangh and that hatred for Sangh and Leaguey both, was so pronounced in my household and in my ecosystem कि मुझको तो आभास शुरू से ही हो गया था कि मुझे आइडियोलॉजिकली मैं कहां खड़ा हूं. अब वो बढ़ता चला जा रहा है. If you allow me, you have questions, or I'll continue in a flow.
After your opening statement, then we'll come into the question.
एक थ्योरी मैं आप सबके सामने रखना चाहता हूं. समाज का राजनीतिकरण, the politicization of a society, is a must. Who does it? The opposition parties, the rebels, civil society, media. यही लोग समाज में कोई ऐसा मुद्दा लाते हैं जिससे समाज आक्रोशित हो जाता है, या वोटिंग के अलावा भी उसका राजनीतिकरण हो जाता है. But the moment a particular political party on a particular issue comes to power, the same political party, please, I want your attention here because it's a very important point which we need to bear in mind. The same political party, when it comes to power, starts the process of depoliticization of the society. I'll give you an example of the freedom struggle. Between Gandhi ji, Nehru ji, Sardar Sahab, Netaji and all other stalwarts, आजादी के आंदोलन के दौरान उस मुद्दे को लेकर उन्होंने समाज को आक्रोशित किया, समाज का राजनीतिकरण किया. लेकिन जब आजादी मिल गई तो नेहरू जी ने क्या किया एज प्राइम मिनिस्टर? डीपोलिटिसाइजेशन का प्रोसेस शुरू किया. समाज में इस तरह के मुद्दों को एकदम साइड में कर दिया. नेशन बिल्डिंग की बात की, इंस्टीट्यूशन बिल्डिंग की बात की. दैट्स हाउ नॉर्मली थिंग्स हैपन. यह पहला मौका है, अटल जी के वक्त भी ऐसा नहीं हुआ था, कि जब आप सत्ता में आ गए 2014 में, आप अभी भी समाज का राजनीतिकरण करते चले जा रहे हैं. और दैट इज द ग्रेटेस्ट मिसफॉर्च्यून ऑफ आवर डेमोक्रेसी टुडे. और किन मुद्दों पर कर रहे हैं? नेशन बिल्डिंग पे आप राजनीतिकरण समाज का कर ही नहीं सकते. आप कहोगे गरीबी हटाओ, आप में से आधे लोग सो जाएंगे अगर मैं भी गरीबी पे भाषण दूंगा तो. वो तभी हो सकता है जब अस वर्सेस देम होता है, जब आप एक आइडेंटिफाई करते हो एनिमी. हमने अंग्रेजों को उस वक्त मोर और लेस एनिमी ही माना था. गांधी जी एनिमी वर्ड नहीं यूज करते थे, वो अहिंसक थे, लेकिन अस वर्सेस देम था. तो समाज का एक राजनीतिकरण हुआ था. द सोसाइटी गॉट politically active. Since 2014, we see the society getting politically very active, unfortunately, on the issue of us versus them. Unfortunately, this politicization is sponsored by those very people who are in power and who are not supposed to be doing that. आप सत्ता में आ गए, चलिए किसी भी तरीके से आए होगे, किसी भी नारे पर आए होगे, मंदिर पर आए हो, किसी भी मुद्दे पर आए हो. अब आप सत्ता में आ गए, नेशन बिल्डिंग करिए, वापस से लोगों को बैरक्स में वापस भेजिए कि चलिए अब काम करने का वक्त है, 5 साल फिर बात करेंगे. आई एम नॉट अपोज टू द राइट विंग, करने दीजिए उनको, वो उनकी पॉलिटिक्स है. दे हैव एवरी राइट to have an ideology, just as I and Mathew have every right to have an ideology, and you all have a right to the ideology. How can I decide that the right wing has no business to be in this country? I can't. That's liberal. That's liberal values. Centrism का महत्व क्या है, जो कांग्रेस पार्टी आप सेक्युलर शब्द इस्तेमाल कर रहे हो, मैं और उसको ब्रॉडन कर रहा हूं, उसको और विस्तृत कर रहा हूं. What is centrism? Centrism is a marriage of left and right both, so that the society doesn't go extreme left, the polity doesn't go extreme left or extreme right, stays center. Get the best of both. Allow both ideologies to flourish without, mind you, without going extreme.
Can I come in here? So you have quoted.
Otherwise, I'll keep talking
No,
because
that's
I am a pravakta.
So he has quoted Elon Musk here, because Twitter has got extreme left and extreme right. Both are not good. Now, RSS was banned thrice in this country, different occasions. The last was during the Babri Masjid issue. But all these years, they were constantly building up on their agenda. Even now, what we are struggling with it is there is a sense of fear in the opposing political parties, led by Congress, as well as all of the opposition political parties, to now speak this word secular, or even I would even go to the extent of saying that to utter the word Muslim as a community. There is a sense of a back foot which we are seeing from the political parties because of this constant campaign. I would certainly come into a specific position on that one. See, we are going to talk very openly here. It is not about, because unless and until we don't introspect and we come and take positions, we will not be able to kind of come into terms with where do we stand politically on a subject. It is with pain that we realized that we fell into the campaign of BJP RSS when Congress party was cornered as a minority appeasement party. It started not now, it started way back in 1930s with one of the RSS protege organization who was doing that one. Now, after that, then they said that we don't recognize the majoritarian religion of this country. Both were false. Both were completely false as an allegation. Maybe a few might have benefited out of the minority thing, a few individuals. Apart from that, the communities which are backwards, economically, socially, otherwise backward, still remains backward. Why are we doing so? Why are we so scared to take a position on that one? I don't want to go to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. What is relevant today is what is relevant today.
But I'll
so
come to the 90s.
Yeah. Yes,
allow me
please.
to start from the 90s.
Yeah.
And I run the risk of losing my job. I'm seeking a promotion, but thanks to you, I may lose my job. In the 90s, where the Congress party went horribly wrong, और मुझे वो कोई कहने में शर्म नहीं आती और मैं खुलकर कहता हूँ ये बात, हम लोग 90 के दशक में we failed this ideology to a large extent. I'll tell you why. When Lal Krishna Advani ji started, and Mr. Arun Jaitley, of course, the two of them started the bogey of pseudo-secularism. हम पर यह आरोप लगा कि आप छद्म धर्मनिरपेक्ष को फॉलो करते हैं. We are pseudo-secularists. We should have fought back strongly. I don't think we fought back strongly enough. We started doubting our secularism. I don't think we should have done that. That's where the downward slope started. I don't think the current leadership is in any way scared of calling itself secular. I'll give you an example of the Kathua rape. When Akhilesh Yadav didn't step out, Mayawati, of course, normally doesn't step out. No other political party stepped out. I personally remember, and I'm sure even you remember, Priyanka Gandhi went to India Gate to light a candle and stage her protest against the Kathua rape, also the Unnao rape. We are not scared of taking a stand. We are proud. By the way, how many of us know here that on page 3 of the Constitution of Bharatiya Janata Party, they say we are a secular party. They use the word secularism in their constitution. Why should we be ashamed of being secular? हमारे तो संविधान में सेकुलर है, पार्टी के संविधान में सेकुलर है, हमारे डीएनए में सेकुलर है, हिंदुस्तान सेकुलर है. कांग्रेस पार्टी सेकुलर है इस वजह से नहीं है हिंदुस्तान सेकुलर.
So that is
हिंदुस्तान सेकुलर है इस वजह से कांग्रेस सेकुलर है.
So now you quoted about the BJP's constitution, third page. I am quoting the RSS website, and they quote the same Hindustan as a majoritarian country, and Hindustan secular है.
मानता हूं, बट आरएसएस के बारे में ज्यादा चर्चा किसी अथॉरिटी से इसलिए नहीं कर पाऊंगा क्योंकि वो तो रजिस्टर होने की हिम्मत नहीं दिखा पाते. 1925 से लेकर अब 100 साल होने वाले हैं. आपकी इतनी हिम्मत नहीं है कि आप अपने आप को पंजीकृत करा सके. यू आर एन अनरजिस्टर्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, यू डोंट हैव अ मेंबरशिप रजिस्टर, यू डोंट हैव अकाउंट बुक्स, यू डोंट गिव टैक्सेस. हु आर यू? हम लोगों ने गलती एक और की. मेरी नौकरी तो आप ले ही रहे हैं तो ले ही लीजिए. हमने एक बड़ी गलती और की कि हम नेशन बिल्डिंग में मशगूल रहे, बिजी रहे, व्यस्त रहे. वी डिड नॉट फोकस ऑन व्हाट द आरएसएस continued to do in the last 70-80 years. We should have checked them. I'm not saying ban them. I'm against banning organizations unless they are doing something illegal. But the fact of the matter is they are unregistered. Kalko, if I am in the RSS, even if I am an office bearer, small office bearer of RSS, I'm giving you this example with a particular name in my mind, and I go and kill Mathew, RSS will say, ये तो हमारा पवन को तो हम जानते ही नहीं है. We don't know who he is. नाथुराम गोडसे, बौद्धिक कार्यवाह of the RSS. This is a written record. लेकिन जब उन्होंने कुछ कर दिया, गांधी जी की हत्या कर दी, तो आरएसएस क्या है, हमारा तो कोई मतलब नहीं उससे. तो ऐसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो खुलकर सामने आने में घबराती है, उस पर हम क्या चर्चा करें? उनका संविधान है भी सही या नहीं, उससे हाउ डज इट मैटर टू मी? They don't come and fight elections.
I will come and question you there. Consider this as a debate, because we here understands what he says. But election after election, when we go, you talk to a taxi driver, you talk to a auto rickshaw driver, you talk to somebody in the train when we commute, and you ask about this. They have a different perception altogether. They are not verifying the facts. They are not verifying whether it is a true statement, whether it is in accordance with the law of the land, whether it is in accordance with the constitution. Everything is put into a shelf. The constitution of this country is not respected. Blatant lies are put to us on a day-to-day basis. Now, we are doing two things. We are coming out, just like warriors like you are making every day with lots of fights in the media. How will we get this into the ground, into, say, a few people here will understand, and they will talk to a few people. But there is a resistance in people to come and stand for what is right. Forget Congress Party for some time. Let's take any other thing. They say it's not related to us, but we will not be able to take a stand. It is coming to a proposition where it has reached our doorstep. We are not realizing it. We are saying that the water has not entered my house, so we are safe. So I am safe. Let it be done by others. But it's not too far. How do we? It's good to have a political discussion and impressive answer, but I'm using but a lot, because it is really a but. How will we change this? How can we influence the masses? Because unless and until the electoral voting machines is not manipulated, election after elections, they are coming back. There is enough and more reasons for them to be voted out, for an anti-incumbency to happen. We don't have jobs, price rise is there, the peace of life is gone, but still they are coming back. And the only thing which they are saying is, the Congress Party doesn't have a leadership. But I will question that too to you, that ask any of them here, they will be able to list out at least 5-10 Congress leaders' name across India. Can you list any one of you like that, 10 BJP leaders' name apart from Narendra Modi and Amit Shah? yet we are blamed of a leadership crisis. So a couple of things for you to kind of speak your mind.
So you want me to talk about
how we can influence the masses, because that is where we are losing it out. Because a few people here, we are very small, we are minority, let's say the word minority. We are minority. We are able to convince a few people here. But the mass is not getting influenced. Mass is saying, that no, it's not happening.
I won't agree with you for the simple reason. Let's assume for a minute that Gandhiji was not killed on 30th of January 1948. वो assassination अगर नहीं हुई होती, थोड़ी देर के लिए आप सोचिए कि वो नहीं हुई थी. Do you think the RSS would have succeeded faster than it did? I think that jhatka put RSS on the defensive. And their plans got shelved, postponed, they kept trying, of course, and then they succeeded right now. Do you think that the country is, by and large, communal? And for the last 70 years, we were forcing secularism on them as a party or as a constitution? Or do you think the country is secular? This is an aberration. इसका जवाब हम सबको खुद ढूंढना है. मेरा क्या जवाब है मैं बताता हूं आपको. मुझे यह लगता है कि जो रूलिंग इलीट की आइडियोलॉजी होती है, बाय एंड लार्ज वो कंट्री उसको एब्जॉर्ब कर लेती है, मान लेती है, काम चलने दो. बिकॉज वी आर स्ट्रगलिंग एवरी डे. EMIs देने हैं, किसी को नौकरी ढूंढनी है, किसी को डिग्री चाहिए, किसी को पढ़ने कहीं जाना है, किसी को बच्ची की शादी करनी है. वी आर कॉट अप इन आवर ओन डेली स्ट्रगल्स. डू वी रियली हैव टाइम टू थिंक अबाउट आइडियोलॉजी एज अ नेशन? First win the election. Ideology is yours. This country is not communal. ये मत मानिए आपकी देश communal है इसलिए ये लोग जीत रहे हैं. Yes, now I come to your other part of your question about perception. जो संगठन गणेश जी को दूध पिला सकता है, ऑब्वियसली वो कई अफवाहें फैलाता है. हमारे उदयपुर के सेंट पॉल्स का एक ग्रुप है व्हाट्सएप पे, उसमें अभी कुछ दिन पहले किसी ने मुझको कुछ भेजा कि विथ अ मुस्लिम लीडर हाउ डू यू थिंक यू विल सक्सीड इन योर पार्टी. मैंने उसको फोन किया, किसकी बात कर रहे हो? बोले राहुल गांधी, पढ़े लिखे हैं. नाम नहीं लूंगा बिकॉज ये जाके बता देंगे उनको. तो मैंने कहा ठीक है, मैं आपको वरुण गांधी का नंबर देता हूं, उनसे जरा पूछिए कि वो हिंदू है या मुस्लिम है, उनके पारसी कौन था उनके यहां. सो द काइंड ऑफ फॉरवर्ड्स, हमारा एक अजीब सी बात है, जो हमारे हाथ में आ गया व्हाट्सएप पे हम फॉरवर्ड कर देंगे बिना वेरीफाई किए. उसमें तो कांग्रेस पार्टी क्या कर सकती? दैट अवेयरनेस ऑल ऑफ अस एज सिटीजंस आल्सो नीड टू हैव. डू वी रियलाइज दैट विद वन फॉरवर्ड वी आर डिस्ट्रॉइंग लाइव्स, वी आर डिस्ट्रॉइंग सो मच. और रैम्पेंट फॉरवर्ड होते हैं हमारे स्कूल के ग्रुप्स में, तो ये भी बताएंगे आपको जिस ढंग से फॉरवर्ड होते हैं. अलवर में अशोक गहलोत ने मंदिर गिरा दिया. अरे साहब, फैक्ट्स तो देख लो एक बार, फैक्ट्स बताओ. नहीं सरकार तो उनकी है. नो, देन दे विल स्टार्ट डिफेंडिंग देयर पोजीशन. सो यू कांट फाइट समबडी हु इज आउट देयर टू स्प्रेड रूमर्स. यस, वी हैव द सेम वेपन इन आवर हैंड्स, द सेम मोबाइल यू एंड आई आल्सो हैव. लेट्स काउंटर. नाउ दैट रिस्पांसिबिलिटी एज सिटीजंस ईच वन ऑफ अस हैज.
No, that's the same thing. So, alt news, boom, Times news fakes, it's all the educated people. Now, we have recently read the statement, 900 million uneducated youth, or, or educated youth, semi-educated youth in a jobless country. They don't have time. And how many of the people, they love to read. They don't want to verify. These all are technicalities. Just like how you go into a court, how do you produce the documents there? There's a procedure given by the court. But normal layman person will not understand that one. How long we will continue to say that it is all fake which is being peddled across, and how will we fight it? We have to now get responsible citizens, yes, but what is happening with the normal citizen, including me and you, is that many of the people sitting here, nobody will not take the pain of going and explaining to somebody else because there is such kind of fear which has been instigated around.
I understand that. The fact of the matter is If they can do it, why can't we counter it?
My question
In the
is,
simple language, our communication, now I come to because you are also an expert on communication, we come back to the need, भाई मैं क्या कह रहा हूं से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ये क्या सुन रहे हैं. पहले मेरे को यह समझना होगा कि मैं जो कह रहा हूं क्या वो वही बात सुन पा रहे हैं. हमारी भाषा, हमारा ग्रामर सब कुछ वैसी होनी पड़ेगी, सरल करके हम अपनी बात को तो रखें, काउंटर तो करें. Plus, I come back to the politicization, the need for politicization of the society by the opposition. That's where we, as the Congress party, need to bring issues, create a narrative which counters their narrative without getting into the trap of their narrative. हम अपना एक narrative खड़ा कर देंगे, तो हम भी समाज का राजनीतिकरण कर पाएंगे. अन्ना हजारे ने राजनीतिकरण किया था. एक मुद्दा ले आए, राजनीतिकरण हो गया. ऑफ कोर्स उनके पीछे भी मशीनरी आरएसएस की थी, इसमें कोई शक की बात नहीं. हमारी भी मशीनरी है, इसमें कोई. एवरी लेन बाय लेन, एवरी विलेज ऑफ दिस कंट्री हैज कांग्रेस इन इट. व्हाई डू वी अंडर एस्टिमेट आवर स्ट्रेंथ्स? We are unfortunately becoming a victim of the kind of propaganda. Somebody just mentioned media here. We are becoming a victim of the propaganda run by the media against us. हम खुद डर जाते हैं सुनकर, अरे हमारी ये हालत है. हमारी हालत नहीं है.
for audience, I'm asking this question. When you are watching a competition, let's say we watch IPL, we watch football matches and all of the things like that. When somebody is fighting to win, we back them. There is that confidence question coming in from the people that we don't see Congress coming out and fighting out for us. I'm saying, that we know how much efforts we put in from our side, but somewhere we are not able to win that perception or the confidence of the people that if we stand for an issue like this, whether we will have the support of the Congress leadership coming out and backing us completely. Especially, we will look at the recent incident of Jahangirpur in Delhi.
I'll give you an example of Jignesh Mevani. He is not in the Congress party.
He's not.
Which party came out openly across the country on the streets of every state? Congress party. They have nothing to do with Jignesh Mevani. He is not in the Congress party. Every issue, पिछले 8 साल में जितने मुद्दे हो, नोटबंदी, जीएसटी, कोविड, कठुआ, उन्नाव, हाथरस, लखीमपुर, फार्मर्स, एवरी इशू, आप आंख बंद करिए, आपको राहुल गांधी या कांग्रेस पार्टी जरूर दिखती है सड़क पर. फिर आप कैसे? दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. वी आर बिकमिंग अ विक्टिम ऑफ द प्रोपेगेंडा अगेंस्ट अस. हम खुद मानने लग गए उस प्रोपेगेंडा को. हम हैं, दिख रहे हैं, हम ही लड़ रहे हैं. लेकिन एक और ऑर्केस्ट्रेटेड परसेप्शन बनाई जाती है. वही संघ की स्टाइल है. या मोदी नहीं है तो मोदी को नहीं भी देंगे वोट तो किसको देंगे? दिस इज अ वेरी डेलिबरेट, बहुत चालाकी से ये लोग फैलाते हैं समाज में ये, और हम उसका शिकार बन जाते हैं. सबसे पहले तो हम ही शिकार बन जाते हैं. सो इफ वी स्टॉप बिकमिंग विक्टिम्स ऑफ दिस प्रोपेगेंडा अगेंस्ट अस, व्हाई वुड पीपल विल आल्सो फॉलो यू. मैं माफी चाहता हूं, 3-4 लीडर्स, मैं नाम नहीं लूंगा, जो हमारे टॉप 3-4 लीडर्स हैं, उनके अलावा बड़े बड़े लीडर्स से भी मैं अगर बात करने जाऊं या आप जाओ, वह भी यही बात करते हैं. नहीं, बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है, चैलेंजेस हैं, लीडरशिप का प्रॉब्लम. व्हाट लीडरशिप? व्हाट एल्स डू यू वांट इन अ लीडर? ब्रांड है, लेगेसी है, इतिहास है, काम करने का दिखा चुके हैं कि हमने इस कंट्री में ये नेशन बिल्डिंग के ये सब काम किए हैं. आज भी हिम्मत से सड़क पर आकर लड़ते हैं. और क्या चाहिए आपको लीडरशिप में? सो वी हैव स्टॉप डिफेंडिंग आवर लीडर्स. और हम यह नहीं समझ पाते एज कांग्रेस लीडर्स, आई वुड से, एंड इट्स अ कॉन्फेशन, कि अगर राहुल गांधी या सोनिया गांधी पर की छवि पर आंच आ रही है, हम मुस्कुराकर या तो पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं उस गॉसिप में, या चुपचाप दूसरा कहीं चले जाते हैं कोने में कमरे के, वो हमारी सबकी ब्रांड पे असर आ रहा है ना. ऐसा तो नहीं ना सिर्फ सोनिया गांधी की ब्रांड पर असर आ रहा है. पूरी पार्टी की ब्रांड की हालत आज ये इसलिए भी है. वी हैव स्टॉप्ड, यू आर सेइंग वी स्टॉप डिफेंडिंग सेकुलरिज्म. आप तो बहुत बड़ी बात कर रहे हैं. वी स्टॉप डिफेंडिंग आवरसेल्व्स. हमने तो अपने नेताओं को डिफेंड करना बंद कर दिया. तो सेकुलरिज्म तो बहुत ही बड़ी फिलोसॉफिकल बात कर रहे हैं आप तो.
Exactly. the concern for everyone sitting here, especially for the people who are struggling for their day-to-day life, is whom they will depend to, whom they will look upon to. I know a lot of the minority community members who are educated are migrating on a daily basis from here to Canada, especially the Catholic community moving to Canada, Australia, New Zealand. The Muslim community moving into the Islamic countries as well as to UK, US, and a couple of other countries. But what about the plight of the people who can't migrate? What about the plight of the people who has to make a living in this country? In this country, we saw Sadhvi Pragya making a statement the other day that...
For God's sake, don't call her Sadhvi.
Yeah, so Pragya, whatever it is, like she doesn't even qualify to make herself as an MP. We got her as an MP in the parliament.
Correct.
And she making a very unconstitutional statement. We have a Delhi Sanstha, which is organizing a very religious call. Not a religious call, it is like a fascist call, it's like a fundamentalist radical call to eliminate the people who are against. How, as a nation, not even as a party, we will handle such kind of uncertainty, such kind of fear which is being put on to us on a daily basis? I'm coming to the audience for the questions after this.
मुझे आप give me one example of Congress party saying over the last 7.5, 8 years to Catholics, Muslims, Dalits or any other minority कि आपने हमें वोट नहीं दिया, हम आपके लिए नहीं खड़े होंगे. मैंने तो नहीं सुना कांग्रेस ने कहा. We still fight because that's our job, that's our duty, that's our responsibility as political people, as a political party. That's what we are there for, to uphold the constitutional values, to fight for the rights, for the dignity of everyone, whether it's a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh or an Isai. So, but expecting a political party to defeat these forces and just expecting कि कांग्रेस आएगी, वो सत्ता में भी नहीं होगी, 50 सांसदों को लेकर समाज में इनके अगेंस्ट माहौल बना देगी, माफ कीजिएगा, वो संभव नहीं है. For that we need much more. We need everybody's part. We need a clear understanding first of all कि मैं कहता हूं मैं हिंदू सांप्रदायिकता के खिलाफ हूं, ये कहते हैं ये मुस्लिम सांप्रदायिकता के खिलाफ हैं. तो सांप्रदायिकता की खिलाफत आप कैसे करेंगे? हाउ डू यू अपोज कम्युनलिज्म? थ्रू काउंटर कम्युनलिज्म? नो, इट कांट बी.
It can't be.
हैज टू बी थ्रू सेक्युलरिज्म. ये बात हम सरल भाषा में अगर समझाएंगे, बिजनेसमैन को भी समझ में आएगी. पॉलिसी अच्छी बना भी ले कोई, इन्होंने तो नहीं बनाई है, मान लो कोई सरकार ऐसी होती जो पॉलिसी भी अच्छी बना लेती, वातावरण भी तो देना होगा ना बिजनेस करने के लिए, या सिर्फ पॉलिसी से बिजनेस चल पड़ेगी? वातावरण आप खराब कर रहे हो देश का. कितनी अच्छी पॉलिसी बना लो, वातावरण अगर नहीं होगा तो बिजनेसमैन क्यों पैसा लगाएगा? विदेश का तो छोड़ दीजिए इन्वेस्टमेंट, देश का भी बिजनेसमैन बाहर जा रहा है. आज अभी यह मुझे बता रहे थे मैथ्यू जी रास्ते में, 350 लोग प्रतिदिन हिंदुस्तान छोड़कर जा चुके हैं पिछले 8 साल में. एवरी डे 350 पीपल लेफ्ट इंडिया. So if you don't give the atmosphere, forget big sounding words, forget ideology, forget everything else. Let's talk business. How do you expect a shopkeeper to prosper if there are riots, if there is a section 144, if there is a curfew? So coexistence. और अभी जो हम चर्चा कर रहे थे रास्ते में, 1947 में जो मुसलमान यहां रह गए, उनसे बड़ा देशभक्त तो मैं किसी को मानता ही नहीं हूं. उनको तो ऑप्शन थी कि धर्म के आधार पे पाकिस्तान बना, चले जाइए, नहीं गए. विच मीन्स दे वर कमिटेड टू देयर मदरलैंड, टू द वैल्यूज विच दिस नेशन अंडर द लीडरशिप ऑफ महात्मा गांधी एस्पाउज्ड. और हमें क्यों हम लड़ रहे हैं? हम भी जा सकते हैं, कई पार्टियों का ऑफर इनको भी आता है, मुझे भी आता है. आई नो फॉर अ फैक्ट कि इनको आया एक पार्टी का ऑफर. I know it. I mean, he may or may not tell
I
you,
refused. It was a minister of state rank.
Why do we say no? There is a reason. We are here to fight for what we are proud of. जिस चीज का हमें 50 साल, 52 की मेरी उम्र है, 50 साल जिस चीज पर हमें गर्व रहा, उसके लिए अगर अब नहीं लड़ेंगे तो लानत है ऐसी जिंदगी पर. वी शुड बी अशेम्ड ऑफ इवन लिविंग. अरे नेहरू जी एज प्राइम मिनिस्टर, मैंने उस दिन एग्जाम्पल दिया था उस पॉडकास्ट पे, एज प्राइम मिनिस्टर कनॉट प्लेस किए, मस्जिद के बाहर कुछ दंगाई आ गए, कूद पड़े लाठी लेकर, कंट्रोल किया मॉब को. उन्होंने तो नहीं सोचा कि मुझ पर आरोप लग जाएगा मैं मुस्लिम के पक्ष में हूं. नोआखाली में जब हिंदू बस्ती पर दंगाइयों ने हमला बोला, गांधी जी पहुंच गए. उन्होंने तो नहीं सोचा मुसलमान कहेंगे अरे आप तो हिंदूवादी हो. तो वी नीड टू फाइट फॉर व्हाट वी आर प्राउड ऑफ. या तो आप बोल दीजिए कि हमने 50 साल बिल्कुल गलत बुतों की सेवा पूजा की, वी डोंट बिलीव इन व्हाट वी सेड वी बिलीव्ड इन, देन यू चेंज इट. बट इफ वी आर प्राउड ऑफ व्हाट वी इनहेरिटेड फ्रॉम आवर फोरफादर्स, देन वी नीड टू फाइट फॉर इट.
Yes, now I'm coming to the audience. Just get the mics ready. So before that, I'll just make a statement which you can ask questions on. 2002, 2006 riots were not accidental. Okay. 2022, we are starting to see the riots again in different forms for a 2024 exploited riots or possible situations. It's all a part of a design to get them back to power. I belong to the Congress party, or I believe in the Congress party for the simple reason that I feel that the Congress party, as the only party who can give a solution for this country's wider perspective of people by standing and giving them the possible platforms. We have a great Islamic scholar here, and we have people who are historians of who have studied history and getting their PhDs done here on history. They can speak a lot about it. Now, the Muslims in this country is really being targeted by the current dispensation as somebody who are less equals. You don't belong to this country is a kind of message which this government is trying to tell them. They are running and chasing the Catholic community by the institutions for the simple reason that you studied in an institution and your formation was done in a way that you respect all the religions in equal manner. Then they are getting into, especially I come from a state called Kerala, they are getting into the communities to fight and hate against each other, the Muslims and the Catholics. So this all are part of a design program. Unless and until the Congress party takes a decisive stand to stand where we are without having any element of fear to demonstrate that we are here for this particular value, and secular is not about neglecting one religion but to keep every religion at equal faith, we will not be able to win the confidence of the people who are very fragmented right now, who are pushed into a corner, who are fearful. This is my statement, which I leave it to the audience now to ask your questions. The floor is open. Ask any questions which you want to have with Pawan. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. Jai
Please
Hind.
identify yourself and then.
Yeah, Jai Hind, sir. Pawan ji, nice to have you here. Hi, Mathew, sir. I'm Rahil Khan, sir, from Northwest Mumbai, Vice President. I joined Congress just a year back, greatly and only inspired by Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mr. Gaurav Vallabh, yourself, and of course our Congress President Mrs. Gandhi. And I just joined AIPC 48 hours back, inspired by Mr. Mathew Antony. And I'm very proud to be a part of Congress. Thank you, sir. And I just wanted to make two observations which were what you just spoke. I was telling my wife that I keep telling her the same thing when I see the TV debates. One, I laugh when the people on TV news shows say that Congress is finished, there's no leadership. I mean, I don't know which world they are living in. I am on the ground every week. We on the grounds in Mumbai and Pune, and we see the josh that the Congress workers have and the loyalty and love they have for the Gandhi family. I mean, they have no clue what's going on. The question I want to ask you, sir, is we are very proud of the Gandhi family and our leadership. And as you said, हमको छुपने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. सेक्युलरिज्म की दूर की बात है, पहले तो हमको हमारे लीडरशिप को डिफेंड करना है, बिकॉज दे स्टैंड फॉर द कांग्रेस आइडियोलॉजी. बट व्हाट डू वी डू सर व्हेन आवर ओन कांग्रेसमैन कम एंड से दैट यू आर साइकोपैथ्स, आप तो चमचागिरी करते हैं, एंड ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ रबिश वर्ड्स दे यूज, अनपार्लियामेंट्री वर्ड्स, जस्ट बिकॉज वी आर डिफेंडिंग आवर लीडरशिप whom we are proud of. How do we handle such congressmen? Because I have often heard in this 1 year journey with the Congress, क्या कांग्रेस कोई हराती है तो वो कांग्रेसमैन ही है. And I can see that. So, sir, why not we have, I mean, I'm no one to give a suggestion, but still I'll give, like you did the great membership drive over the last few months, why not we have a strong disciplinary committee or a code of conduct to get people in order, because there are too many loose cannons speaking whatever they want. Thank you.
I agree with you. We need, definitely there is, what is missing in our party. This is the third reason why I'll be thrown out tomorrow, but I may be. Because thanks to Mathew. We do need a very, very strong discipline. Having said that, the only party in this country which shows a lot of internal democracy is Congress. आप भले सुनेंगे कुछ भी रहील बीजेपी वालों से कि अरे आपके यहाँ तो एक परिवार का राज चलता है, बिल्कुल गलत. I have been very closely associated with the party for the last 3 decades now. I haven't seen more democracy in any other party. जितनी democracy हमारी पार्टी, उसके नुकसान भी है, इसमें कोई शक की बात नहीं. I agree with you. रही बात कांग्रेस के बाकी लोग आपको क्या कहते हैं, तो देखिए पॉलिटिक्स, since you are new in politics and I hope you have a good innings in politics, all the best to you. But पॉलिटिक्स में जो संघर्ष होता है वो राइवल से ज्यादा पार्टी के भीतर होता है. दिस इज अ वर्ल्ड में कहीं चले जाइए, सत्ता के और सियासत के नियम ही कुछ और होते हैं. तो संघर्ष तो सबसे पहले अंदर ही शुरू होता है, और वो विचारों का भी संघर्ष हो सकता है, वो एम्बिशन का भी संघर्ष हो सकता है. व्हाई नॉट? एवरीबडी, घर में आप और आपकी वाइफ, कई चीजों में आपकी बात एक दूसरे की नहीं बनती होगी. संघर्ष तो है ही ना, रिश्ते में भी संघर्ष होता है. तो ये संघर्ष से मत घबराओ. लोग कई बातें कहेंगे, सुनो क्या हो गया. यू आर हेयर फॉर द लार्जर पिक्चर. आप एक बड़ी लड़ाई के लिए, तो छोटी छोटी लड़ाइयों में अपने आप को वेस्ट करोगे तो आगे नहीं बढ़ पाओगे. चूज योर बैटल्स.
Can I request, okay, can you please pass the mic on? You've got the mic on.
Hello, sir. My name is Advocate Bhushan Bendre, and I am a professor as well. Sir, I have a huge Congress legacy. My father, my grandfather, they were Congress workers. My grandfather, you may know, he was 7 times Member of Parliament from Solapur constituency, Pandharpur. Even today, he is a national record holder. So many times he had held leadership in the constituency of Pandharpur. And sir, I would like to discuss on a technical point. This is my wish also, and I want your opinion on it. Sir, I have seen the degradation of the constitutional institutions in this country, sir. Whether that is law and order institutions or other institutions. I would like to give an example, sir, especially regarding the ECI, Election Commission of India. Sir, when in the recently concluded election of Uttar Pradesh, when the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, he gave the statements in the public, and he requested the voters to vote for the BJP, otherwise you will turn UP into Kerala and Kashmir. Okay? I don't know, only God knows what he wanted to convey. But obviously our Honorable AIPC President are also responded to that very aggressively, which I am very happy for that. But sir, these incidents had happened after 2014 a lot. Okay. India had seen lots of election commissioners like T. Session, if you know, who had taken the stands against even the prime ministers of that times. But sir, recently this had happened that even 2019 general elections of this country, the election commission had given clean sheet to the home minister and even the prime minister, even after the remarks of the Supreme Court of India. And so my request, my wish, and I want your opinion on this, that sir, on the floors of the parliament, both the houses of the parliament, being the national party, that is Congress, can we not initiate the impeachment procedures against such election commissioners and such other people who deliberately downgrade the constitutional validity and the image of their institutions? This is what I want from you, sir.
Bhushan, I agree with you, but we need numbers, so better.
Okay,
But
sir, if one line I say,
Please.
Sir, why I'm saying this, because we can set an example by taking such an impeachment initiations or procedures, that no matter you are under which government or whatever government in the center, but you are a constitutional body, not a political body. Thank you, sir.
No, I agree, but of course for impeachment we need numbers and we don't have the numbers. But आपने तो इलेक्शन कमीशन के बारे में बोला, एक ऐसी संस्था है जो 2014 में सोई, अभी तक नहीं जागी, CAG। और 2014 से पहले CAG बड़ी सक्रिय संस्था थी। You are just talking about election commission, there are several other agencies which so I would suggest that we as Congress party and also we as civil society, we need to build pressure and try and introduce something in our policy. No bureaucrat, after he retires, will be given a position for 5 years. 5 साल का अगर आप ये कूलिंग ऑफ पीरियड दे देंगे, मुझे लगता है काफी ब्यूरोक्रेट्स अपना काम करना सीख जाएंगे वापस से। ये एक तरीका हो सकता है, वी शुड डू इट, बिकॉज आई डोंट थिंक वी एक्सपेक्टेड द काइंड ऑफ सरेंडर ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस। हमने सोचा भी नहीं होगा कि इस तरह का सरेंडर हो जाएगा। हम पर आरोप लगते हैं आपने इमरजेंसी लगाई थी, अरे लगाई थी तो हटाई भी, खुद हटाई, किसी ने मजबूर तो नहीं किया था। नहीं, हो सकता है नहीं हटाते अगर चाहते तो, बट हटाई ना। हटाने के बाद वो इलेक्शन हारे, 2.5 साल में इलेक्शन भी जीत गए। आई एम नॉट जस्टिफाइंग व्हाट हैपेंड, बट आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू से ये बिना डिक्लेयर किए जो चल रहा है इमरजेंसी, इसका तो कोई तरीका ही नहीं जब तक कि हम अब एज सिटीजन्स एक प्रेशर ग्रुप नहीं बनाएंगे जगह जगह पर, क्योंकि ये आदमी अपनी छवि को लेकर सबसे ज्यादा डरता है। इसको और कोई डर नहीं है जो आज हमारा प्रधानमंत्री, ही इज ओनली वरीड अबाउट हिज इमेज। और इमेज बचाने बनाने के लिए जो हथियार होते हैं वो मीडिया उन्होंने कब्जा कर रखा है। सोशल मीडिया तो आपका अपना है, जहां जहां आवाज उठा सकते हो आवाज उठाइए। कांग्रेस पार्टी खड़ी है आपके लिए, डोंट वरी अबाउट इट, वील फाइट फॉर एवरीवन।
Could you please pass the mic on to this side? Yeah. So we'll come to you next. We'll come to you.
Yeah, we were very right wing. अब left में भी चले जाइए।
Yeah, that's great. Welcome to AIPC.
Shahid, you can come to the question. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. So wo ho gaya. Yeah, fine. Now, my question here is, and I'll come straight to the question. We have an image अभी जो बन रहा है। मेरा introduction ये है कि I'm a Twitter warrior. All right, and we are 3 generations serving Congress. So that's my very short introduction. सवाल ये है, हमारा impression ये बन रहा है कि we are very slow. हम कछुए की चाल चल रहे हैं, कांग्रेस, ओके। और कहानी जैसे कि हम जानते हैं कि कछुआ अपनी चाल चले जा रहा है, हमको तो पहुंचना अपने गोल पे, आज नहीं तो 10 साल बाद, 20 साल बाद हम फिर दिल्ली पहुंच जाएंगे। मगर वो जो खरगोश है वो हमसे तेज है। सो होता यह है कि खरगोश पहुंच रहा है, वो राज कर रहा है, हम अपनी चाल चल रहे हैं, ठीक है। अगर वो खरगोश हार भी गया, जिसके हम इंतजार में हैं कि वो हारेगा तो हम आएंगे, दूसरा खरगोश पहुंच जाता है और हम अपनी चाल चले जा रहे हैं। तो इसका हमारे पास ये कछुए से कोई दूसरा रूप लेने का कोई हमारे पास कोई सोल्यूशन है कि हम कछुए की चाल चलेंगे? वी आर रिएक्टिव, ओके। मोदी कुछ बोल के निकल जाता है, 3 महीने तक, 6 महीने तक हम सिर्फ उसको रिएक्ट करते रहते हैं। सो व्हाई कांट कांग्रेस नाउ टेक दैट रोल, और हम जरा कछुआ नहीं बने तो ठीक है, ओके। और इसके लगे आपने जो पहले बात की थी, तो मैं उसके बारे में आपको सिर्फ पूछना चाहता हूं। आपने कहा था कि कांग्रेस इज सेक्युलर बिकॉज द नेशन इज सेक्युलर, but the nation, as we are not willing to admit, okay, is fast turning rabid. तो कल फ्यूचर में अगर नेशन रैबिट हो गया तो क्या कांग्रेस कम्युनल होगी?
नहीं, ये तो आप पहले सबसे आखिरी वाली बात का सबसे पहले जवाब दूंगा। नहीं, कांग्रेस को कम्युनल होना होता तो 1952 के इलेक्शन में ही कम्युनल हो जाते। उस वक्त तो माहौल पार्टीशन के बाद का माहौल था। हमें 80% की पॉलिटिक्स करनी होती तो उसी वक्त कर लेते। हम 100% की पॉलिटिक्स कर रहे थे। हम सबके लिए बात कर रहे थे और हम वही करते रहेंगे। तो ऐसा कोई कारण होगा जो 70 साल में से 54 साल कांग्रेस को ही लोगों ने मौका दिया। आज वक्त थोड़ा ऐसा चल रहा है तो डोंट गिव अप। आपने कछुए और खरगोश की बात कही। डिस्ट्रक्शन और कंस्ट्रक्शन में जो फर्क होता है वो कछुए और खरगोश में होता है। डिस्ट्रक्शन बड़ी जल्दी हो जाता है। आपको लगता है मोदी और अमित शाह बड़े स्पीड पर काम कर रहे हैं, क्या काम कर रहे हैं ये भी तो देख लो। तो हमारी पार्टी में कोई निर्णय लेने में आप कह रहे हैं कि हम टाइम लगाते हैं, बिल्कुल लगाते हैं और लगाना भी चाहिए। क्यों लगाना चाहिए? यू कांट जस्ट सिटिंग इन दिल्ली टेक अ डिसीजन अबाउट तेलंगाना। यू हैव टू कंसल्ट। यह देश एक परिवार भी हो, एक संगठन भी हो, यह तो पूरे देश की बड़ी एक पार्टी की बात है। यू कांट जस्ट डिसाइड सिटिंग इन दिल्ली। यू हैव टू कंसल्ट एंड कंसल्टेशंस टेक टाइम। अभी आपने पिछले 1 महीने में डिसीजंस देखे, वो हिमाचल में हुए, हरियाणा में हुए, पंजाब में हुए, उससे 1 महीना पहले जाइए गुजरात में हुए। डिसीजंस अच्छे हुए, सब संतुष्ट हैं। वो ऐसे डिसीजन लेना जो लॉन्ग टर्म जिसकी सॉल्यूशन हो, उस डिसीजन में टाइम लगता है। यह लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? कौन सा डिसीजन ले रहे हैं? आप इन 2 लोगों को छोड़ दीजिए, अकेले में पार्टी के किसी लीडर से बात करिए, वो आपको पूरी बात रोना शुरू कर देते हैं। आज ये पावरफुल हैं, थोड़ा सा इनका पावर कम होने दीजिए, हमारी भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी। इनके अपने ही लोग इनके खिलाफ तैयार बैठे हैं। सो डोंट गेट इंप्रेस्ड कि वो स्पीड पे काम कर रहे हैं, वो डिसीजन क्या काम कर रहे हैं, क्या डिसीजन ले रहे हैं, क्या इंपैक्ट है। 45 साल का बेरोजगारी का रिकॉर्ड टूटा, ये इंपैक्ट है। एमएसएमईज बंद हो रही हैं, ये इंपैक्ट है। कोविड में क्या हालत हुई, क्या ये इंपैक्ट है। पेट्रोल डीजल क्या, ये इंपैक्ट है। रसोई की गैस, खाने का तेल, ये इंपैक्ट है। नींबू, look at the impact of what they are doing. You just have to pull your socks, put your house in order, start talking about these issues and talk forcefully. Don't be apologetic about what you stand for. Be proud of what you stand for.
Yes.
I can hear you. आपकी आवाज तेज है।
My name is Sudhakar Malpe. I have seen you on the discussion for over 100 times, I think. Even on 26, you said, ये अनाड़ी मिनिस्टर लोग है, वो क्या समझाएगा आपको? So I liked it. I mean, because the way you 3 people, including, Supriya, we are today, nowhere less. I mean, we are where we were, I think, because perception is, is it. But मेरा 5 मुद्दा ये है, which you will be able to tell me. Even Mathew sir will be also able to tell.
He is a man, he's a senior, so let him answer.
Point number 1, sir. Today, कब कोई सेंट्रल प्रेस से कब सोनिया जी का, राहुल जी का, प्रियंका का फुल पेज फोटोग्राफ आया है लास्ट 8 years में? नहीं आया है. So the media is controlled. Second is money. Money, because money is, because they talked about black money, but they have black money. Rafael का मुद्दा, we did the best of the things, Supreme Court में लेके गया, but then thank God today we have a CJ who is somewhat very very upright. वो बंद लिफाका का जवाब बंद हो गया अभी. Number 2. Number 3 is that muscle power is the one thing which is really frightening the people. That is where you referred about Mahatma Gandhi's murder. So that is where, in fact, Rahulji also said, thank God, today, even, the Bhivandika court also has fined RSS today. They said, you can't, just, dilly-dally. So, muscle, money, and media, that is two things. Fourth and fifth is that, today, our military, I am little, skeptical, but, chief of the services was, his helicopter, went off. What kind of investigation we have? People are not convinced. Number 4 is international pressure, because see, if you go back, the first month of 2014 mein, Modi said that मैं तो 10 बरस हूँ. Who gave that authority to tell him? Is there anything which is fixed? Because today, see, nothing is happening about EVM. Only we are the country, and small Russian country is the only one which are believing in EVM. I am sure you are aware how Rahul Gandhi's election was fudged in Amethi. And Congress knew, I take that this thing, Congress knew, that is why he was sent to Kerala. This is definitely. Otherwise, Priyanka, Congress in UP would not lose the deposit. It is totally, fudged. So these are the really issues which we need to stand up and talk about. Thank you.
I agree with you. When it comes to money, you are right. The kind of money they have is unimaginable. आरोप हम पर लगते हैं भ्रष्टाचार का, और हर जिले में न केवल भारतीय जनता पार्टी का ऑफिस बन रहा है, इस देश के हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में आरएसएस के भी ऑफिसेज आपको बनते हुए दिख जाएंगे. आप दिल्ली का भारतीय जनता पार्टी का एक नया ऑफिस बनाया, वो अगर आप देखेंगे कभी आकर, और आपको अगर नहीं बताएं कि ये बीजेपी का ऑफिस है, तो आपको लगेगा आप 7 स्टार होटल के बाहर खड़े. अंदर तो हमको जाने का इच्छा भी नहीं और गए भी नहीं, बट वैसे लोग जो बताते हैं अंदर से भी जाकर जो आते हैं, पत्रकार बताते हैं, दैट काइंड ऑफ मनी डजंट कम ऑनेस्टली. आई कैन टेल यू दैट. एज फार एज मसल इज कंसर्न, डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट. हम लोग भी लड़ सकते हैं, लड़ते हैं. आज से नहीं लड़ रहे, पिछले 135 साल से कांग्रेस लड़ती आ रही है. व्हाट इज वरिंग इज जो हमारी वोकैबुलरी में चुपचाप से शब्द डाल दिए जाते हैं और हम एक्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं उन शब्दों को. 2014 के बाद टुकड़े टुकड़े गैंग एक फ्रेज था जो हमारी वोकैबुलरी में आ गया और नॉर्मलाइज हो गया, विच इज द वर्स्ट थिंग. नॉर्मलाइज होना इस इन शब्दों का. लव जिहाद नॉर्मलाइज हो गया, झटका हलाल नॉर्मलाइज हो गया, हिजाब नॉर्मलाइज हो गया, बुलडोजर. Look at the smartness with which they quietly introduce these words in our vocabulary, and we like fools, all of us as a country, I am saying, not just help them normalize this terminology, this lexicon, we start participating in it. आज अभी हम लोग चर्चा कर रहे थे लिंचिंग. इट्स नॉर्मलाइज्ड. तो पिछले 8 साल में क्या क्या नॉर्मलाइज हुआ, अगर आप वही लिस्ट सामने रखेंगे, यू विल बी सो स्कैर्ड ऑफ योर नेक्स्ट जनरेशन कि हम किस तरह का देश छोड़कर जा रहे हैं इनके लिए. दिस इज अ वरिंग साइन, एंड डोंट एक्सपेक्ट कि एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी अकेली लड़ सकती है विदाउट मीडिया, विदाउट पीपल, विदाउट सिविल सोसाइटी. नो, आई एम सॉरी सर, नहीं हो सकता. वी नीड द मीडिया, वी नीड सोशल मीडिया, वी नीड civil society.
I completely second him on that one, because as I earlier closed with a statement that there's a design, and it's a part of that design to get these vocabulary into our day-to-day life, to get these atrocious acts normalized. After seeing rape 15 times in different parts of the newspaper in a single day, in page 1 then it will be in a small column. In page 3, it will be a little bit expanded one. Page 8, page 9, something similar to that in the social media. Lynching, people getting burned. I don't want to take the names here because it is not good to take the names of the people who have suffered, not for the families also. But this is becoming a larger problem. A large part of the responsibility for Congress or for any is to have the civil society finding fault with this and making the noise. That's how the civil society movements happened in the West. That's how the civil society movement happened in the US. And that's how the civil society movement happened, which out through all of these dictator kind of governments, you take from a Mussolini to a Hitler to a Mao to anybody for that matter. It happened. A Marcos in Philippines. That's how it has happened. So the end of this is also something similar. But there is a large responsibility with each one of us. It is not vested with the single shoulder of a Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi or a few leaders at the top. We all have our responsibilities to do. That is a fight which we all have to pick up. If we start repeating their language, hijab, halal ban, and things like that. Christian educations, Christians, the word used against Christians is conversion. That's how they plant it. And we fall prey to it. Don't fall prey to it. I am proud to say that I am being a part of the Congress party, identifying myself as a practicing Catholic, with full respect to all other religions, without diluting my religion, nor without diluting any other religion who is there along with us in the party. That is how it is. If we don't take that stand, if we don't find courage to take that stand, and if somebody is trying to oppress my faith, for something else, I have to stand for my faith without disrespecting that faith. That is what we stand for Congress party, or that is the reason why I am in Congress party, and that's the reason why many of us are in the Congress party. So it is not just one individual's responsibility, it is in each one of us to pass this message to the others also. Thank you. I'm sorry to take it to your time. Thank you.
I think that lady wanted to ask. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, ma'am, you can go ahead and ask a question.
Sorry,
After that, yeah.
We will have 5, 3, 4, how much?
About 3 more questions we can take. So please, okay. Yeah. So ma'am, short.
Keep the question short so that we can answer.
No, make it 5 because I can see others also. I have time. Don't worry.
All right. Thank you so much.
Unless Mathew has to go and party somewhere.
He didn't invite me for the dinner, so I'm free.
Yes. Thank you very much for your very enlightening presentation. My name is Zeenat Shaukat Ali. And my question is, I have 2 questions. One is that there is an increasing growth in communalism, and the people of India want it. There is a great hate. There's a great hate against minorities, which is on the rise, and it is not diminishing. I happen to be in the field of education. I am nowhere close to politics, nor do I hope to be anywhere close to it, because I guess I'm not cut out for that. So, but as an ordinary citizen of this country, I find that despite all that you have said, despite the downslide in economy, lack of jobs, the real issues, people still want Mr. Modi at the helm of affairs. People are going all out to vote for that party. And there is absolutely no doubt about it. I think it's a bitter truth and a bitter pill that at least I swallow. And, now the thing is that there is no narrative that is created by the Congress. What you need is an alternative narrative, which is missing completely, from the scene. So what happens is that the Hindutva, the promotion that I'm proud to be a Hindu. Of course you're proud to be a Hindu. Hinduism is a beautiful religion, and I've just done a book, where I've made a comparative study of 14 religions, showing the similarity. So I am a student of religion, and all religions have their beauty. But to make somebody hate somebody else, that is not part of religion. But somehow or the other, which is very surprising and a little scary for somebody like me, is that, it is being wholesale swallowed and wanted. Because, to the ordinary people, I have a maid in the house, it doesn't matter. All this doesn't matter. As long as Mr. Modi is giving us, our pride as a Hindu. So you see, that I think is a very, very dangerous trend that is on the rise, and I think that there has to be all the best brains. There has to be a brainstorming as to how you can create a parallel narrative. And my second question is, as regards with the Congress party, I am a great admirer of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and I have my reasons for that. But what I feel is that, you know, when we are saying that the Congress party, yes, I agree, that there is no alternative to the Congress party, even though I'm not in politics. But whatever that may be, you see, the internal dissensions within the party and the internal lack of strength, that is not giving you the votes that you deserve. And there's a supremacist approach. There is this dictatorial, we are no longer in a democracy, we are in a dictatorial, supremacist understanding of democracy. That is overwhelmingly taking over. And therefore, you see, this is the worry, this is my second question to you, is that how, if you are not going to be agreeable amongst yourselves, if there is going to be no coming out of a leadership, you still don't have a leader in 1 year's time. You have not been able to select anybody. Why should that be? So that is my submission to you.
No, unfortunate that people like you are not, you say that you are not in politics. Now that's the thing which I am worried about. Being in politics is not participating in elections. Being in politics is what we were discussing all along. As civil society, we need people like you to assertively put forward the ideology which you stand for. That is enough for Mr. Modi to be scared of you. Believe me. All bullies are cowards. Don't forget that. I'm not calling anybody a bully. So just let's assert ourselves. Congress party has its own structural issues, no doubt about that. I would be lying if I say there are no structural issues. We do have our structural issues. We do have a leader, not just one leader. We have several good leaders across states. In every state, as he said, if there is a Mr. Gehlot in Rajasthan, there is a Sachin Pilot in Rajasthan, there are Mr. Dota, so many in Rajasthan. In Madhya Pradesh, there are 6, 7 big leaders. So there is no leadership crisis in our party. Congress president is Sonia Gandhi, and till we have a new president, we have a president. And she's a very active Congress president. So this is a false narrative being generated against our party by you know who. ये आप कांग्रेस में लीडरशिप क्राइसिस है, कहाँ है लीडरशिप क्राइसिस? मुझे तो नहीं दिखता. माफी के साथ बोल रहा हूं, हमारे यहाँ प्रॉब्लम ऑफ प्लेंटी है. कई स्टेट्स में एक से ज्यादा इतने काबिल लोग हैं, मैम.
We were in Kerala. Ask him about Kerala. You know how many leaders we have.
Maybe we have more leaders than should be. थोड़े ज्यादा हैं, कई बार ऐसा लगता है. हर स्टेट में आपको ज्यादा दिखेंगे, तो ऑब्वियसली एम्बिशंस हैं, आपस में भी उनकी कंपटीशन होती है, which is healthy. At times it becomes unhealthy also, no doubt about that. We need to have our structural reforms which are underway, I can promise you that. रही बात, you said, ma'am, that the country is getting communal. I would like to disagree, and I hope I am right and I hope you are wrong. 60% लोग आज भी मोदी को वोट नहीं देते. It's 30, 31, 33, उससे ज्यादा वोट नहीं मिला उनको. So let's see the data also. They are loud. Right wing और left wing दोनों हमेशा loud दिखेंगे आपको. Centrist बेचारे meekly अपना काम करते रहते हैं. असली काम centrist करते हैं, लेकिन loud दोनों रहेंगे. I am no advocate of extreme left also. Just as I am against extreme right, I am also against extreme left. Unfortunately, hatred is a more powerful tool than love. It is unfortunate. वो सुनने में बहुत, किसी को किसी से लड़ा दिया तो बहुत जल्दी हो जाएगा ये. मोहब्बत में समय लगता है, नफरत बड़ी जल्दी होती. And there are fault lines which exist. We can't deny that. There are social, historical fault lines. BJP as a party, RSS as an organization loves to use those fault lines. Congress पिछले 70 साल में गवर्न किया despite the fault lines. BJP comes to power because of the fault lines. That's the difference between BJP and Congress. Now, how do we defeat that? As I said, it has to be a collective initiative. It can't just be a political party.
Good evening, Pawan
Thank
ji,
you.
and welcome to Mumbai. आपके नाम के सामने ये रॉकस्टार लगाया है मैथ्यू ने. Indeed, you are a rock star because you've been inspiring everybody out here with your talks.
Thank you, Ria.
Okay, I am Ria, and I have been an ex-journalist in Times Network and in Z. And
I wish you had told me you were in Times. I would have removed your number.
Long back. I know. Obviously, I know how media works, and I and you and we all know what media is doing with us right now. There are platforms like media, social media, online platforms that actually demean us, suppress us. We in Congress, have we done anything? Are we having a roadmap to actually stop this thing that is happening with us? Because हम लोग जितना भी लड़े, जितना भी कोशिश कर रहे हैं, हमें कहीं ना कहीं सप्रेस किया जाता है. फैक्ट्स भी डाल देते हैं सामने. हमें अनगिनत हमें लोग आए दिन गालियां देते रहते हैं सोशल मीडिया पे. मुझे देते हैं, आपको देते हैं, हम सबको देते हैं इनफैक्ट. बट इस चीज को रोकने के लिए कहीं हम लोगों ने कहीं एक रोड मैप बनाया है कि नहीं, ये जानना है आपसे.
The roadmap is, and we are doing that, we have to go back to the people. We want the people's support and help now. हम अकेले नहीं कर पाएंगे. मैं बार बार कहता हूं, हमारी लिमिटेशन है. आजादी का आंदोलन अगर जन आंदोलन नहीं होता, if it was not a people's movement, do you think we would have got our freedom? We need people. What do you think this media will do? ये लोग, इनसे मत घबराइए आप. They are right now singing some tune. Fair enough. Today, thanks to social media, media is irrelevant if we decide it is irrelevant. It is in our hands to make it irrelevant. You have your mobiles in your hand, you are a powerful woman. That's how I look at you. That's how I look at each one of us. So I don't think we need to get very bogged down by the odds against us. Yes, the odds against us are mighty, no doubt about that. But then, we are a party which has historically fought and won. संघर्ष किया है तो जीते भी हैं. हाँ, अगर संघर्ष नहीं करेंगे तो फिर you are right, फिर नहीं जीत पाएंगे. तो we have to get back to struggling first, not as leaders. Leaders तो हमारे struggle कर ही रहे हैं. जो नहीं कर सकते वो सिंधिया जी चले गए, जितिन जी चले गए, आरपीएन जी चले गए, वो नहीं संघर्ष कर पा रहे थे. With due respect to them, they are all friends, but चले गए. How do you get the Mumbai film industry with you when there is a fear, a threat? Look at the way they've demonized the film industry over the last 2 years. Whether it was Sushant Singh's episode, whether it was a drug abuse, so-called drug abuse. तो ये लोग तो भगवानों को आपस में लड़ा देते हैं. अब सरदार पटेल जी और नेहरू जी तो अब जिंदा भी नहीं है, उनको भी लड़ा दिया आपस में. फिल्म इंडस्ट्री तो छोड़ दीजिए, सबसे कमजोर मैं मानता हूं बेचारे, क्योंकि वो अपनी एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री है. उनसे आप उम्मीद करना कि वो टाइड के अगेंस्ट खड़े होकर, अभी भी कुछ लोग लड़ते हैं, ऐसी बात नहीं है. बट डोंट एक्सपेक्ट फिल्म इंडस्ट्री और एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री टू स्टैंड अगेंस्ट द टाइड. इट्स नॉट ईजी फॉर देम. Don't expect the media to stand against the tide. They have their business interests. It's not easy for them. So, finally, it comes back to the people of India. And as a political party, we need to communicate with the people of India, try and talk in their language, understand, make them understand what their concerns are, be on the same page and fight this evil.
We're going to do shorter questions, please. If I know we're not
Basically,
getting
she's
enough
trying to say shorter answers.
Not at all, not at all. Pawanji, we're just not able to get enough of you. There are more hands just raising up. So please, just keep your questions short, yeah?
Yeah. Hello, Pawanji. Huge fan. Hi, Mathew. Chartered Accountant Paresh Jain this side. Rahul, I completely believe in Rahul Gandhi. A few days back, he gave a statement, few weeks back, that I don't need power. I was born in power. As a normal cadre, when I look at my leader and he says, I don't need power, does that imply somewhere winning elections and losing elections doesn't affect? Because what happens is, unless and until you have that aggression, कि नहीं मेरे को जीतना है, then your people behind you will always, या ठीक है यार होगा तो ठीक है, जीत गए तो ठीक, नहीं जीते तो क्या, अपन तो है ही. And my second question, I'll keep it short. do you think bashing corporates is negatively impacting Congress party in terms of funding? Because the party works on donations. So we have a, what do you call, Garib party, but neta bahut hamare paise wale. So that is my second question.
So as a CA, Paresh, as a CA, I hope the hum do hamare do aapke clients nahi hai. So when Rahul Gandhi says कि मैं power में पैदा हुआ था, लेकिन I'm not driven by, immediately मुझे तो समझ में आ गया वो क्या बोल रहे थे. मुझे लगता है हमारे काफी साथियों को समझ में आ गया. Think of a Scindia, a Jyotiraditya Scindia. Think of Jitin, think of RPN Singh, and a few others who've left. Compare them with Pawan, Mathew, Paresh, Riya, Jinal. हम लोग तो लड़ रहे हैं ना, ऑपोजिशन में रहकर संघर्ष कर रहे हैं, गाली खा रहे हैं, लेकिन लड़ रहे हैं. वो लोग नहीं लड़ पाए. So they were driven only by power. People like you, me, Rahul Gandhi are not driven only by power. We are driven by a conviction, by our ideology, by what we stand for and what we stand against. That's the difference. So it's your choice whether you want Rahul Gandhi to be like a Scindia and compromise, or you want Scindia to be like a Rahul Gandhi and fight. That's the difference. Now, your next question about corporates. There is a symptom which Rahul Gandhi keeps talking about. That you only focus on 2 or 3 and let the MSME sector be destroyed for good. No other business will flourish but 2-3 जो उनके साथी हैं वही. That's not a healthy sign for any country, for any economy. That's the reason why 350 people are migrating out of this country every day. A lot of them are businessmen who could afford to invest abroad and goodbye to India. He is worried about the unemployment. Why do you think we have broken a 45-year record of unemployment? Because of the destruction of MSMEs. So when he talks about हम दो हमारे दो, he means कि वो 2 के अलावा 98 और भी हैं, उनका भी ध्यान रखो, सबको मौका दो. That's what we are talking about.
Good evening, Mr. Khera. I'll make it short. Basically, my name is Reena Dave. I'm a marketing and communications professional. So my question is very pointed. Like you said that we need to communicate to the people. Do you think somewhere we are not able to communicate in an easy language, in a way people understand? So Mathew in his earlier conversation, told about a taxi driver. I'll say like I am a Gujarati, I stay in a Gujarati society, I am called a Deshdrohi because except for my house, everybody else is BJP, right? So, but the kind of very simple social media, quotes that float around vis-a-vis our counters, which are very heavy, very facts, they are facts heavy, very policy driven. A regular housewife or, a regular trader or a shopkeeper might not understand. And somehow I feel that we are not able to communicate in a very easy language to a mass public. So while for the elite, maybe yes, they understand policies, but not mass. So do you think there is some kind of a disconnect there?
देखिए, when you are in opposition, you should resort to poetry and not prose. Because when you are in government, you will be all about prose and not poetry. Unfortunately, Mr. Modi, despite being in government, I wouldn't say it's poetry because I'm fond of poetry, it's a cheap limerick which he resorts to. But, hum log, you're right, we are fact heavy. Because we have facts on our side, we have data on our side, so we think that we should talk about facts and data. Maybe you're right, we need to simplify our language a little, our communication a little. I agree with you there. That's a shortcoming which I have noticed in myself also at times. I agree.
That we have discussed during the last campaigns also.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Khera. I'm a member of the INC Social Media Department Executive Committee in Bombay, and I'm an advertising professional. I'll keep it short. You spoke about Congress having the maximum inner-party democracy, but then there's also inner-party discipline. And since the question of times came about, a dear clubhouse follower, Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, I've seen him on the Times network a few times. It's just to give you reference and not point somebody out. Go on Times network at a time when AICC has or had banned or boycotted the network as a Congress party panelist. And still, very recently during the bypolls, he fought from the Baliganj constituency in West Bengal. And such instances are not very rare in such a grand old party, which we very dearly respect. How do you look at that? Inner party democracy versus inner party discipline?
I agree. There we need to enforce this kind of a discipline, but I'll give you, this is the catch-22 for us as a communication department of the party. If I say, let's boycott a particular channel, nobody goes there. They'll make XYZ, anybody sit there and write Congress spokesperson there. How do you counter that? You have no way of countering that. Then what happens is, whatever goof-ups that man or woman goes and makes there, become the official Congress voice. That has happened in Delhi. I won't name people. In Delhi itself it has happened. And I pointed it out, but then there is no way of countering that. How do you counter that?
But then they get a ticket. How do we counter that?
Well, that's a different issue. Yes, I agree there. I agree. I concede.
Hello. Hi Pawanji. Hi Mathew. I'm Alan Patekar, Secretary for Thane Chapter, AIPC. And thank you very much Mathew and Sumit and Zara for organizing this, because after so long time, all are coming under one roof. So thank you very much. अच्छा पवन जी, सवाल ये है कि हमें संगठित किस तरह से होना है और अभी तक हम संगठित क्यों नहीं हो रहे हैं? पहला सवाल मेरा ये है। ये सवाल की वजह ये है क्योंकि अभी हमने हालांकि जो इलेक्शंस देखी हुई है पंजाब की, यूपी की, इनफैक्ट महाराष्ट्र के भी, महाराष्ट्र में आप लीडरशिप के बारे में बता रहे थे, महाराष्ट्र के नहीं, मतलब ओवरऑल लीडरशिप के बारे में बता रहे थे, क्योंकि हमारे पास लीडर बहुत है। जरूरी है कि जहाँ पे तलवारें ज़्यादा होती है और म्यान तो एक ही होती है, तो उसके अंदर तकलीफ तो होनी है, लेकिन उसको किस तरह से संभाला जा सके, क्योंकि आपने बताया कि जिस तरह से लीडरशिप क्राइसिस को सॉल्व किया गया, लेकिन वो इलेक्शंस के बाद क्योंकि काफ़ी हामी हो चुकी थी, संगठित किस तरह से किया जाए, क्योंकि अगर हम कौन सा भी प्रोग्राम भी अगर ऑर्गेनाइज करें तो हमारे ही बंदे लोग काफ़ी कम आ जाते हैं। ये प्रैक्टिकल चीज़ में अभी की बात बता रहा हूँ। तो जान फूकने के लिए अभी एक उसके साथ साथ बीच में कुछ दिनों से काफ़ी न्यूज़ चैनल्स पे चल रहे थे, प्रशांत किशोर ज्वाइन होने वाले हैं तो काफ़ी ऊर्जा मिलेगी, क्या होगा? तो ऐसे कुछ चीज़ों को लेके हम क्यों नहीं आगे बढ़ सकते, या ऐसा संगठित किस तरह से किया जा सकता है कि जिस तरह से कांग्रेस पार्टी में जान फूकी जा सके? थैंक यू।
जो जिस जिम्मेदारी को लेकर चल रहा है इस पार्टी में, अगर वही यह मान ले कि उस जीतने से सबको लाभ होगा, चलिए यही मान लीजिए, छोड़ दीजिए आइडियोलॉजी, अगर आप आइडियोलॉजी के लिए नहीं लड़ना चाहते, वील बी एबल टू। हम लोग खतरे को समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं। खतरा इज नॉट ऑन कांग्रेस पार्टी, खतरा बहुत बड़ा है, वो देश पर है। तो जिस दिन हमें यह समझ में आ जाएगा, वील अंडरस्टैंड आवर हिस्टोरिक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। दिस इज अ रेयर मोमेंट इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ आवर कंट्री, एंड वी आर ऑल लकी हियर सिटिंग इन दिस हॉल दैट वी हैव दिस फाइट, कि हमें मौका मिल रहा है इस लड़ाई को लड़ने का। इससे अच्छा ऐतिहासिक मुझे नहीं लगता कोई क्षण होगा हमारे जिंदगी में। वी आर लकी बिकॉज हम में से जो जितने भी लोग यहां बैठे हैं, कोई भी आजादी के आंदोलन में तो नहीं था, हम बाद में पैदा हुए सब। ये बहुत बढ़िया मौका है। यह जिस दिन हम समझ में आ जाता है हमें एज ऑफिस बेयरर्स ऑफ द पार्टी, मुझे आया है, मैथ्यू को आया है, कई लोगों को आया होगा, और राहुल गांधी को तो अच्छी तरह से आया है, आई नो इट फॉर अ फैक्ट, हमारे नेतृत्व को आया है, हम सबको आ जाएगा, तो आई डोंट सी अ प्रॉब्लम। आई डोंट सी अ प्रॉब्लम। आई एम वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट, आई एम एब्सोल्युटली कॉन्फिडेंट कांग्रेस पार्टी will get back to govern this country, bring it back to the right track। जो अभी भटक गई है देश पटरी से, वो वापस पटरी पर कांग्रेस पार्टी लाएगी, और जल्दी ही लाएगी।
नमस्ते खेरा जी, आपको टीवी में हमेशा देखता रहता हूं, ज्यादा कुछ तारीफ तो करूंगा नहीं, आप प्राइसलेस हो।
करोगे?
हाँ जी।
क्यों नहीं करोगे?
सॉरी,
क्यों नहीं करोगे तारीफ?
क्योंकि आप प्राइसलेस हो, बता रहा हूं ना। तो हीरे की कोई तारीफ कर सकता है? जरूरत ही नहीं करने की, अपने ही चमकता रहता है। एनीवे, मुझे एक लेटेस्ट बात करनी है आपसे। ये कुछ पिछले कुछ दिनों में कुछ हमारे एक्स ब्यूरोक्रेट्स ने कोई एक लेटर लिखी थी प्राइम मिनिस्टर, कुछ 108, तो उन्होंने लेटर लिखी थी प्राइम मिनिस्टर से, जवाब मांगा था हालात के बारे में, जो मौजूदा हालात चल रहे देश में, ठीक है। तो मैं जरा कोट करना चाहता हूं, उन्होंने जवाब मांगा था प्राइम मिनिस्टर से, क्या वो देंगे जवाब? पहली बात, ठीक है, वो दे या ना दे, मैं वही सोच रहा था कि दे देंगे, इससे पहले कि वो जवाब दे। आज लेटेस्ट कुछ आया है, आप जानते होंगे उसके बारे में। आई जस्ट वांट टू कोट दैट, डोंट गिव आइडियोलॉजिकल कवर टू एंटी नेशनल आउटलुक। एक्स जजेस, मिलिट्री वेटरन्स स्लैम ओपन लेटर अगेंस्ट पीएम। मेरे समझ के बाहर है कि लेटर पीएम के अगेंस्ट कैसे हो गई। पहला ये है मेरा। दूसरा और एक है, ये न्यूज 18 वालों ने चलाया, सॉरी ANI वालों ने, दोपहर को 1:30 बजे के करीब, 197 signatories consisting of 8 retired judges, 97 retired bureaucrats and 92 retired armed forces officers have written an open letter to PM Modi against a letter by a self-styled constitutional conduct group called for an end to the politics of hate. इसको आप कैसे रिलेट करोगे? न्यूज 18 ने चलाया, अशोक सज्जनहार, फॉर्मर डिप्लोमेट मेजर जनरल ध्रुव सी कटोच, सिग्नेटरी ऑफ द लेटर, शेयर देयर व्यूज। इसके बारे में आप थोड़ा
आई सॉ दिस, मैंने देखा था ये।
हाँ, तो इसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा
ये
हम चाहते हैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर रिप्लाई करेगा या नहीं इसको? इससे पहले कि रिप्लाई करे, ऑलरेडी काउंटर खड़ा कर दिया।
प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने आज तक कोई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की है?
नहीं, जवाब मांगा है तो जवाब का काउंटर दे दिया ना।
जो आदमी सवालों से डरता है,
आपस में ही लड़ा दिए दो ग्रुप को।
दैट इज हिज स्टाइल। वो सवालों से डरते हैं, वो पत्रकारों से डरते हैं। इतने साल हो गए, आपने देखी हो कोई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस? मैंने तो नहीं देखी। डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह साल में एक बार जरूर मीडिया वालों को बुला लेते थे, जबकि उनको आप मनमोहन कहते थे। तो जैसा कि मैंने अभी जीनत मैडम को बताया कि जितने बुलीज होते हैं वो कावर्ड्स होते हैं, डरते हैं। वो नहीं सवालों के जवाब देंगे, उनसे उम्मीद किसी को है भी नहीं। वो समाज को ही आपस में लड़वा देंगे। आर्मी के वेटरन्स को अगर इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं अपनी राजनीति में, इससे ज्यादा शर्मनाक और क्या बात हो सकती, बताइए? बताइए कैसे मारना चाहिए? बिल्कुल मारेंगे। सड़क पे तो हम हैं, हम तो रोज सड़क पर घूमते हैं, लड़ते हैं। राहुल गांधी हो या कोई हो, हम सब लड़ रहे होते हैं। अब हमें आप सबकी आवश्यकता है कि अब आप लोग यहां से निकलने के बाद ये ठान लीजिए कि रोज एक झूठे व्हाट्सएप का काउंटर क्रिएट करके फैलाना है और एक सच्चा व्हाट्सएप भी फैलाना है, और इनको रोज अपना एजेंडा, अपना नैरेटिव चलाना है। हमें आपकी आवश्यकता है।
Hi, Mr. Pawan. My name is Ningsang Jamir. I live in Navi Mumbai, originally from a small place called Kohima in Nagaland. So, I have two questions for you. And before that, disclaimer, right? I'm not into any political parties. I just came because I got an invite for this. So, my question is, I want to pick your brain on two things, which is firstly, the projection, right? Some of our friends has been mentioning about the branding which we have. Right now it looks like as if it's a family-run party, right? Leadership, at least on the media, and that's how the masses see the party, right? So my question to you, first question is, you think that instead of portraying three of them in the forefront, you think will it make sense to have a mix of people at the top? I know it's a bit controversial, but since you already said, no problem. And the second question is that you see, BJP, from my personal experience, BJP people, they come and meet us as well, right? Me as a youth leader in the Naga community, they have personally even come to my house, and when I go back to my village, back in Nagaland, they really work in the grassroots. I was surprised to see that they've been working in Nagaland since the 1960s, right? So it's not a 1 year or 2 year, and in Nagaland, as we all know, Congress is gone, right? So my question to you is it a good time that we dig out and unleash things like the Sivadal or the grassroots level recruitment things? Are we lagging behind that? And what do you think will be a solution for that?
Your question number 1. 33 years since you had a Gandhi as a Prime Minister. 89 onwards, we had 6 governments which were either supported by the Congress or led by the Congress without a Gandhi as the Prime Minister. So this is a false bogey that the Gandhis are controlling power. That's absolute bunkum. We are the only party which has elections, internal elections. Tell me, how did JP Nadda become the president of the BJP? Who decided that? Was there a voting? Before him, how did Amit Shah become the president? Was there a voting? You know who decides? An unregistered body sitting in Nagpur. Unaccountable, unregistered, don't pay their taxes. They decide the destiny of this country by appointing prime ministers, by appointing party presidents, by appointing ministers and chief ministers. Do you want that kind of a system in the Congress? I'm sorry, that's not possible. We are an accountable party. We have voting rights as members. We vote for our president. And have you ever thought why this campaign against the Gandhi family? Because they are scared of the Gandhi family. Why are they scared of the Gandhi family? Because this is only the Gandhi family which has shown the courage of fighting the RSS for the last several generations. Have you heard RSS talk against India? Or against any of these turncoats? They only talk against the family because they know they cannot bend the family. I agree with your second part. Give the devil its due. The RSS has been working very hard across the country, no doubt about that. And we need to definitely pull up our socks, whether it's Sevadal, whether it's other frontal organizations. Yes, we need to go back to the grassroots. We are lagging there. I have no qualms in admitting that. I agree there. That's where we have failed. I agree with you.
Sorry, okay, so I know everyone's very excited to talk to Mr. Khera, but unfortunately, we're sure. Yeah, ma'am, you can give us your question. After that, we have last 3. Shambhu, Mario, and this gentleman here who's been waiting very patiently for a very long time. After that, I'm so sorry, we'll have to close.
I have more patience than all of them.
I'm sure you do. We see it on national television every day, sir.
My name is Sheetal and I'm from Mumbai, and basically from the basic Congress that we call. So my question here, as my party leader, I have lots of questions for you. Combined all together, there will be much more questions, but I will not go in that. I have been elected thrice till 2017, but I haven't won any elections after 14, be it assembly or the corporation. My point is, I'll come to this topic which we were supposed to discuss and which we are not, about the party discipline. There are lots of questions. My thing is, I have a feeling, and many people around me also have made me feel that, are we falling in the trap? The trap is, right now, after voting, when contesting an elections, I have never faced this problem. Right now, what I feel is, more than anything, BJP is laying a trap, about secularism so-called, and making us run and keep such debates. And we are running around those things. And then they are having their own agendas and whatever they are doing behind. So, one thing, a direct question is like, what do you think? Should we ignore or reply back when it comes to something like this topic like secularism? So every time I feel there are so many issues, be it Amit Shah's son for that BCCI thing, and then we had this riots in Pune. It was approximate the same timings. So there are so many such things. So should we reply back or should we ignore?
Sheetal, I think we are where we are because we've ignored it. So I'm very happy that Mathew has spoken about secularism. We should have countered it there and then in 90s. Please sit. In the 90s itself, when they first questioned our the definition of our secularism. So I don't think we should allow them to spread canards and rumors and misconceptions about us, about certain values that we stand for. If we don't respond to them, they will succeed in spreading all kinds of, they have already succeeded in spreading a lot of dirt, which we need to counter. But I agree with you, we also need to put in place our own narrative, no doubt about that. But you can't just have our own narrative and allow them to continue talking rubbish about secularism, continue to act against our constitutional values. That we need to check and checkmate every now and then.
We would love to be liberal, but I think more answers, more questions coming up. So Shaji has said about last 3 questions. Yeah, Shambhu, coming all the way from Pune.
So Shambhu, myself Shambhu, I am coming from the small village from the Maharashtra, and the question is, हम जब गांव में जाते हैं एज अ कांग्रेसी, जब देखते हैं तो मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि स्टिल गांव में सेकुलरिज्म है. मतलब स्पेशली मैं हिंदू मुस्लिम की बात करता हूँ. खेड़ों में गांव में इतना ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है हिंदू मुस्लिम का प्रॉब्लम, लेकिन ये प्रॉब्लम शहरों में, मतलब सिटी में ज़्यादा क्यों है. सिटी में मतलब कोई अगर हम ऑटो देखते तो अगर किसी की ब्रेड देखते तो हम सोचते कि यह मुस्लिम है, मतलब ऑटो लेना है या नहीं लेना है, यहाँ तक हमारी सोच आ जाती है. मतलब सिटी के पीपल ऐसे क्यों ज़्यादा है. ये इम्पैक्ट ऑफ मीडिया और दे हैव द, आई मीन दे वेल एजुकेटेड, क्यों, मतलब ऐसा क्यों होता है कि सिटी, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली हमारे शहरों का ही अनुकरण जो भी है तो गांव वाले फॉलो करते हैं. तो ऐसा क्यों है कि शहरों में ज्यादा ये सेकुलरिज्म की धज्जियां उड़ जा रही है.
शंभू, गांव में रिश्ते कई पीढ़ियों के होते हैं, शहरों में रिश्ते पीढ़ियों के नहीं होते. ये बहुत बड़ा फर्क है. इंटरडिपेंडेंस होती है गांव में परिवारों की आपस में, जो शहरों में नहीं होती. ये एक बहुत, और जो दूसरा कारण आपने खुद बताया मीडिया और सोशल मीडिया का, मैं मानता हूं जो जहर मीडिया और सोशल मीडिया घोलता है वो पहले शहरों पर असर डालता है. गांव में अभी भी इतना असर उनका वो नहीं डाल पाते जितना शहरों में डालते हैं. तो हमें सोशल ग्रुप्स बनाने बहुत आवश्यक हैं शहरों में. खास तौर पे हम और आप जैसे जागरूक लोग जो हैं उनको यह आवश्यक है कि हम सामाजिक सौहार्द के लिए कुछ ग्रुप्स बनाना शुरू करें. इनको डिफीट करने का आप मुझे बताइए, और मैं हर कांग्रेस के व्यक्ति से पूछता हूं, सुबह पार्क में जाते हैं शहरों में, एक तरफ शाखा लग रही होती है, एक तरफ लाफ्टर क्लब चल रहा होता है, तीसरी तरफ योगा चल रहा होता है, और तीनों में आरएसएस की कोई छाप होती है. हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते? हम एक भी ऐसी एक्टिविटी नहीं करते जिससे हम लोगों को जोड़ सकें और अच्छी बातें अपनी बता सकें. एक जमाना था, मैंने बचपन में खुद देखा है, सुबह प्रभात फेरी निकलती थी जिसमें रघुपति राघव रामधुन बजाते हुए जाते थे, कांग्रेसी थे वो सारा हम लोगों ने शायद हम भूल गए, जिस वजह से आज ये स्थिति पैदा हुई है समाज में. हमारी जो स्थिति है वो तो हम सुधार ही लेंगे, लेकिन जो समाज की स्थिति है जिसको सुधारने में अब समय लगेगा, उसके लिए हमें ये तमाम चीजें करनी पड़ेंगी जो हमने नहीं की पिछले कई दशकों में.
Sir, please.
My name is George Castellino. Good evening, sir, Mathew and Pawan. In my 70-odd years, I have been a congressman. Thank you. And over these 60, 70 years, I have seen Congress from the peak, sometimes up, sometimes down, but lately down and down and down in terms of electoral results. At the same time, I have seen the country is Congress at heart, is secular at heart. The overwhelming majority is. And When I look around for leadership, I see Mamta, ex-congressman. I see Pawar, ex-Congress. I see KCR, ex-Congress. I see Jagan. And so many of the BJP people, ex-Congress. Now, I don't want to go into the reasons why it happened, but does Congress have a strategy to get all these people back in the fold?
I don't know whether we need to have all those people back in our fold. We have enough of very talented leaders in all states, I can assure you that. And I agree with you completely. The country's factory settings are Congress. But I'm not saying that we'll only count on the factory settings. We need to work very hard over the next 2 years to bring our own party back on the right track. Don't miss those who have gone. They had their compulsions, they had their ambitions, fair enough, good luck to them. We can promise you, in every state, Congress party is capable of giving you the best leadership. You compare them with any other leader, you will be proud of the Congress, I can tell you that.
Last two. Yeah. Hi Pawan, I'm Mario. I lead diversity and inclusion in AIPC. After the recent demolitions in Jahangirpuri, you heard a couple of responses. One was from former office bearers within the social media, which really disappointed me. They were saying that, why should we really stand up for people who don't vote for us anyway? Now, I know this came after the disappointment of the state elections that recently happened. I still think it was a very unfortunate response. The other response, and I'm not saying this because this is you, but one of the other responses from civil society in Delhi was that, well, these demolitions have occurred because Sheila ji once did these kinds of demolitions. Now, my response to that was that she didn't go after houses or places of worship of one particular religion. But how would you respond to these two kinds of statements, I would say provocations as well? I was just stumped and looking for guidance at that time.
Mario, I agree with you. Whoever said that, believe me, must have been very sad at the results. But however, I don't agree with what he said. As a party, it's our duty to fight and stand for people, irrespective of their religion and political orientation also. Number two, because I was part of the government in Delhi for 15 years with Sheila ji, no demolition takes place without following a due procedure. This was the first time I saw they did not follow any procedure and just went about out of vindictiveness demolishing houses. In Madhya Pradesh, as you saw, man was already in jail, but his house was demolished that he's participated in riots. Another man who had no arms was accused of pelting stones. So this is the kind of government you have. That's what we are fighting. These are the elements we are fighting.
Last question. Yeah.
Hello Pawanji and hello Mathew sir. I'm Kshitish Desai and I'm from Kolhapur. So firstly, thanks to spokesperson like you, Professor Gaurav Vallabh and Randeep Surjewala sir for constantly taking press conferences and putting issues, critical issues in front of us. But we are lacking to channelize these issues in front of masses, firstly. And my second question is that the myth, as we call it, that as the 70 Saal, in this 70 Saal, we were not in power 2 to 3 times, and the incident like Kashmir Files, which is booming right now, has happened, and at that time we were not in power, and we were not able to put this in front of the masses. So we should do something to take such issues in front of masses. And thirdly, what are our plans? What are our party's plans for the upcoming general elections 2024?
I agree with you. That is a challenge when the media is not with you at all. In fact, they are the ones who try and spread lies. Then our challenge becomes very magnified. There is no doubt about that. And therefore, we are struggling the way we are struggling. But to say that the Congress is not doing enough is not fair, because over the last 78 days, 40 trips I have undertaken across the country, soon after I recovered from COVID. I'm just giving you my example, but I know my colleagues, they have been traveling, going, holding press conferences, protests on price rise, for example. We have been raising our voice. It gets covered at times, it doesn't get covered at times, but then we resort to social media, we resort to our own mechanisms. But we are trying our best to convey what we need to convey and to articulate what the people want us to articulate.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We have Aarti and a couple of people. My apologies because we have already stretched. Okay, chalo. Aarti is a journalist, so
yeah, please.
The guest's privilege, the extra vote.
Thank you so much. So this is Aarti from HW News Network. So basically, like you said right now, that media spreads lies. I understand that there are some mainstream media channels who spread lies. There are certain digital news channels also who spread lies. But as a party, I would like to ask you firstly, this was not my main question, but now that you said that, so I would like to ask you, what exactly, is the mechanism in the Congress party to identify and also, for your spokesperson or your party leaders to appear on media that gives space to opposition parties, first. And secondly, my question is, what exactly it is that Congress party needs to do that, MK Stalin does, or what KCR does, or what Mamata Banerjee does, because this is a myth that opposition does not win in the country. Opposition does win. There is another myth that dynasty parties don't win. All of these parties are maybe dynasty parties. Even TMC is moving towards that direction. So what exactly it is that, these parties are doing that Congress is not able to do? Thank you.
I come to your second question first. National narrative, I don't know if there is something called a national narrative in a country as varied, as diversified as India. But when it comes to the national election, we definitely need a national narrative. Regional elections are a very different ball game, so let's not compare regional with national. What is it that you take to the people in a national election? Your agenda, your leadership, your vision, and the way you communicate it. So I think as far as our leader is concerned, there is no doubt about in our heads, in anybody's head. Nyay, for example, was a brilliant agenda in the last election, but the other side really subverted the election, I would say, through Pulwama. So if 2014 was on Vikas, by the time he reached 2019, he didn't talk about black money, he didn't talk about Vikas, he only talked about Pakistan. By the time he reaches 2024, he'll only talk about Muslims. Believe me, he's heading in that direction. There is something called a slow burner communalism. You may or may not have riots, but as I said, keeps introducing new phrases which are divisive in nature. Love jihad, tukde tukde, bulldozer. These are the phrases he's trying to introduce in the run-up to the 2024 election. So we need to have a strategy to counter this particular style of politics. Your other question was, sorry? Spokespersons. How do we identify spokespersons? No, that is, as I said to Ria, we need to send people. If we don't send people to most of these channels, they'll make anybody XYZ sit there and say that this is a Congress spokesperson. That is very counterproductive. There are, however, some very rabid channels who we have boycotted, and there was valid reason to boycott them. And there are other channels who within our party, there is a demand that let's boycott them. But then if we start boycotting all channels, where will we be? That's where all the battles are being fought, on media and social media. So we have to be present there and fight. The fight is difficult because the anchor is against you, the so-called expert is from the RSS, then there is BJP, and there is another expert who's pro-government. So we are 1 against 5, but that's the fight. और कैसे लड़ेंगे? यही तो लड़ाई है. तो लड़ना तो पड़ेगा.
Chalo. I request Shachi now to take over and conclude the day's
You've
session.
been standing all this while. I'm so sorry.
Not at all.
My
not
apologies.
at all.
You should have
No,
sat.
no. It's a pleasure to be on the same stage as you. Okay, so I think it's a great sign of a lovely interactive that there are still so many questions, and I can see some of you are restless and some of you are mad at us for not giving you this space, but unfortunately we have run out of time. I'm going to conclude our excellent evening. Before I get to the formal vote of thanks, I'd like to make a couple of announcements. You've come to an AIPC event today. There's another one happening the following Sunday. We're hosting a play, a dramatized play reading of Ek Madhav Bagh. Please come join us. It's an initiative of a foundation that Mathew heads here. It's called Indasta Foundation. It's an initiative of the LGBTQIA community. The committee of AIPC used to be headed by Mario, now headed by Sham and a bunch of people. Francis is here as well. So we'd really, really love for all of you to be here. The event registration link will be sent to all of you as well. Please make sure you're signing up and be here to support us and support the Congress in our progressive initiatives that we take, right? Secondly, you've been so patient and such a lovely audience. As a token of our appreciation, we've put together a small box of goodies. When you're on your way out, not just yet, when you're on your way out, please make sure you collect one and go. And now coming to concluding the evening. Before I move to the formal vote of thanks, I'd like to acknowledge a few people who've made it, taking their time out from their busy days. The Vice President of MPCC, Commander Kalawat, is here with us. The MRCC EC member, Dr. Neil, is here with us. Ex-BCA President, Mr. Dolphy D'Souza, is here with us as well. The ex-KCA President, Mr. Matthews. Professor Zeenath from St. Xavier's College is here as well. I'd like to acknowledge all of your being here and your presence. It matters a lot to us, and it's lovely to have your support. Now, moving on to the last bit. Firstly, I'd like to start my vote of thanks by offering it to our eminent speaker, Mr. Pawan Khera. Thank you so much, Pawan. You have been patient. You have been enthusiastically answering all of our questions, and most importantly, you've given us a lot to think about and a lot to put into action as well. So thank you for energizing this fight that we're all in together. Secondly, I'd like to thank our president, Mathew Antony, for putting this together, for being a lovely, let me be the devil's advocate and ask Pawan difficult questions. Thank you so much for that. I'd now like to thank our Vice President Sumed and our Secretary Zara, who couldn't be here today, as well as our Executive Committee of AIPC, All India Professionals Congress Maharashtra. There's a lot of work that goes into events like this, and we're really grateful to have a lovely team to do it with. Next, I'd like to thank Father Valerian and the entire team at Father Agnell's ashram. Without venues like this, it's impossible to manage events of this scale. Next, I'd love to thank Leena and Mangesh from Indasta, who've been tirelessly working behind the scenes. And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge Sanjay Mishra and Chandan Singh, who are our AIPC fellows, whose financial contributions have made this event possible. We were just addressing the question of money in politics, and it's hardworking people like you who come up and put their money up where their mouth is that make such events possible. So I'd really like to acknowledge that. And I'd love to acknowledge Jay Kumar as well for facilitating that whole exchange. And last but not the least, I'd love to thank all of you for being here on a Saturday evening. It's been wonderful. I'm really, really grateful. We all are. And from all of us here, we'd love to thank you and wish you a lovely good evening.
Thanks, Shachi, for that. And Shachi is working with us in the AIPC. She's a public policy expert. She was there with my foundation also. Now she has moved on from the foundation. But thanks a lot for all of you. Thanks to Pawan for coming in from Delhi and making this happen. I have offended a few people because a few people where we limited the invitation after having so much of registrations, so a few unoccupied seats. They said, why, in terms of this one, we said no, we limited the invitation because there is a request from the venue owners, and that's why we couldn't do it. That's where it is like. Thank you, good night, and God bless you all. And wish you all a very good Ramadan festival also soon. Thank you.